Hello and welcome. Today we're going to go ahead and take a look at the rocket. So I saw a post on Reddit the other day about somebody who built a ship using only a single engine. And I decided, hey, that sounds kind of cool. I want to try that for myself. And here's the result. So the rocket is a little Class A Corvette that I designed to still have decent maneuverability while using only a single engine. And I decided that for that engine, I was going to go ahead and use the White Dwarf 3015 because if you're going small, you gotta go fast, right? Now, with this ship, as you can see, I am using a few mods to go ahead and build it. However, if you would like, I will also go ahead and show you a way that you could build something similar, completely vanilla. So enough about that. Let's go ahead and do a quick tour and show you how the ship is built, and then we'll take it out for a test drive. So, for the first time, I actually did go ahead and do a little bit of interior decorating to try and make this one by one companionway area feel a little bit more like, something that could actually support a couple of people for, a couple days out in space. So we've got a little bathroom over here, some place to heat up some food, a fridge, and a single bed because I couldn't find a bunk bed. As you can see, right here is our docker, right in the middle of everything. And then we have our cockpit. It's a very, very large ship, as you can see. So, let's go take a look at how it's built. I don't know why the ground crew's over here, but sure. All right. So you can see here some of the stats. We've got 33 reactor power base, 2 crew, and we still have that 28 light year jump range. Hop on in, and here you can see the stats mostly without skills. You can see that we are getting that 91 mobility and 271 mass. You can just do a quick look around here. You can see I put some undermounted missile launchers. Not that I expect to use them much, but they're there. All right, so let's go ahead, select all, and delete. All right, so first things first is we are going to grab our landing bay. And here I've got the rear-mounted shipbed 200 landing bay. Then for my halves, I chose to go with the Hope Tech companionway fuselage. I did also do a variant of this with a Deimos companionway. Um, However, when using the Deimos companionway, I had that hooked into this DS 10.1 cockpit, whereas now I'm going to use the Armstrong 10 cockpit. Now, one of the key things that I do want to note here is that when you're using a ship that is this light, having the extra mass of, say, the Commander 500 bridge versus the Armstrong 10, that's a 25 mass difference, and that's almost a 10-point difference in your mobility score. So that's why I'm going with the kind of lowest end cockpit, even though, I could go ahead and use this one. It just, I need that mass savings. All right. Then on the bottom side right here, I'm going to go ahead and grab that docker. And then everything else is basically branching off of this shipbed landing bay. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my grav drive. And for this ship, I was able to get away with using the R1000 Alpha grav drive. That 16 grav jump thrust is not a whole lot, but because of how light the ship is, you still can get that 27 light year jump range that we're looking for with it. On the other side of the ship, I'm going to go ahead and grab my reactor. Now, one of the things that you could look at here is you could look at doing the SphereMech DC 201 instead of the 202, and that is going to save you 6 mass in exchange for 5 reactor power. However, with this ship, you really don't need the missiles. I just shoved them on because I think they look cool. But without the missiles on it, if you have the Anitronics Fusion Skill 2 rank 4 and you have Vasco or whoever on board giving you 1 extra power, the SphereMech DC 201 can give you enough power to power everything on the ship. However, I went with the slightly heavier DC 202 because I decided to add those missiles for the cool factor. Removing them and dropping this could get you to 100 mobility though. Alright, next up, let's go ahead and grab our landing gear. So for this ship, I'm using the Pinpoint 3G landing gear, the 4 configuration. And then I'm going to come on over here to the Structural tab. Scroll on down until I get to the Nova section. And then I'm going to grab the Nova wings. So the Nova wings have a connection on the back and on the side. We're making use of the back connection here. And you can see that it doesn't quite touch this Hope Tech companionway. But if you were using another, like, say, any of the other 1x1 companionways, or you decided that you wanted a 2x1 here instead, then the wings could attach to this and you don't need to worry about the connections here. Alright, next up, I need my engine. Alright, so here I'm going to go ahead and grab that White Dwarf 3015. And it just places right there on top. And then on top of the engine, I'm going to go ahead and grab my shield. And here I'm using the Marduk 1040A, just because I like the appearance of it. Technically, using the Deflector SG60 is going to give us an extra 100 shield for 1 more power needed, or sorry, 2 more power needed. However, then I need to find some side connection piece, or I could connect it to the front with the better flips and snaps. But right now, everything that you see here is completely vanilla. Alright, so what is next? Well, the only thing that is missing right now is the fuel and the weapons. Now, if I'm looking for staying completely vanilla, what I'm going to do... Come on. Alright, so I cannot copy the whole ship. Perfect. Oh, I see. For some reason, the fuselage here is not available at my outpost landing bed. That's why I couldn't copy everything. Alright, so what I would do if I wanted a completely vanilla ship is I would go ahead and I would swap that hab around for like a Deimos companionway. And then from here you could go ahead and do either the Deimos cockpit and put, like, say, your fuel. Where is it? No, not the decorative ones. I want the non-decorative ones. And do something like this. Or you could still keep the Armstrong cockpit, and just accept that there's a little bit of not quite flowing right here. However, if I'm using mods like I am, then I have a couple more options. So what I ended up doing is I took a pair of these 100G fuel tanks and I flipped them until they can attach on top. So that gives me a little bit of verticality. Another option that I could have would be to come on over to the structural section and grab a Nova bracer. And I could go ahead and stick something on like this. And if you're okay with clipping, and you still like this appearance more than something like this, you could do this. However, it is going to be adding extra mass with the 3 extra mass from the Nova bracer. Not saying that you can't do it, just saying be aware of the trade-offs. In some ways, I do kind of like the look of them coming out with the Nova bracer a little bit more, but, you know, you take what you can get. All right, so from here, all that's left then is weapons. Now, for this particular ship, I did go ahead and, again, mods make this available. I put equipment plates on the bottom here. And that's where I can go ahead and mount my missiles. If you are not using mods, these are not available, so I would just drop the missile package entirely. Moving on then, let's go ahead and come on over to the weapons. And for those missiles, I have the C-19s, and I just place them down there. Over here, I have the Disruptor 3310s. And then up here, I have the Vaporizer 35s. Do note I am using non-auto weaponry for this, and I prefer the non-auto weaponry for these little ships because I'm going to be going ahead and trying to keep a long distance and basically blasting it away by holding down the fire key and not actually worrying about, you know, my ammo capacity. Now then, from here, there's one other thing that I'm going to add on. Again, mods make this part available. If you are not using mods, you cannot do it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this Hope Tech Nose A, and you note that it will clip in right here. And then I can flip it, and now I have basically an extra wide bumper that goes on the back right here. It does drop me to 90 mobility, so, you know, that is something to be concerned with. However, I like the extra appearance here. And then finally, we assign the weapons. Just whatever order you want, and color the ship. Now, because I am going to go ahead and cancel this build so that way I don't lose my interior decoration, I'm not going to be saving this, but this is how I built the ship. Alrighty. So, now that it's all built, let's go ahead and take it out for a test drive. Okay, and as you can see here, with that anitronic fusion skill maxed out, I have 4 extra power on my missiles that I don't really need. Um, but I have both my particle weapons fully maxed out, as well as my engine and shield. So let's go ahead, pop on out to Serpentis. And see who's available at party. Okay, so again, as with all of my light craft, the easy way to fly them is just keep your range, and while you outrange them, fire away. Alright. We have some hostile activity over here. Let's come check it out. Now, this is all on extreme difficulty and new game +2. Um, so if you want a different weapon loadout or a different playstyle, just lower the difficulty level. Alright. Now you'll note that I am not picking anything up. That's because I do not have the cargo space for it. So that is definitely the one downside of small light fighters like this, is you just don't have cargo space. But if what you want to do is just space superiority, we've got 4 here. Let's go ahead and get our distance. And with these particular weapons, the effective range is out to about 3,500 to 4,000, which is part of the reason why I choose these particle beams. And you notice that they went through my shields really quickly and then damaged my engines. And now my top speed drops to, well, 140, which is actually still pretty decent. However, For a moment there, it had dropped or had taken 2 points of damage, which massively reduces my speed. So that's another reason why you need to be very careful with a ship like this. Is if you take that hull damage, you could lose your speed advantage, and then you will die very, very quickly. All right, let's look for, say, one more engagement. Alrighty. And if you watched all the way to the end, thank you very much. And I will see you in the next one.